walk in the spirit is difficult, dealing with all of the ignorance. But in the Bible, it's still talking about the Bible. What is the benefit? Everything about you counterfeit. There ain't no rebuttal you can counter with. On the internet, you the master teacher. In real life, you powerless. Keep it real with you, I don't have time for this. I ride for this, my forefathers died for this. They cry for this opportunity, presently I possess, and right now you are the opposite. If you walk in love, you fulfill the law. Don't get involved and you ain't giving it all. If you ever think it's cool to threaten another man's family, then you already lost. Chemtrails got aluminum, heavy metal saturate the atmosphere. Manhattan Project, time travel, Mandela effect, what happened here? GMO food processing to the whole world become obsolete. A black man who believes in Jesus got my own team taking shots at me. You trespassing on property that you don't fully understand properly. All the back and forth, that's not for me, that's for ROC and the war machine. If we ride together, then we ride together. If we can't do it, I'd rather leave. I still stand on the word of God till the day I die and no longer breathe. We trapped inside the diaspora, nightmares of the massacre. Cold sweat, I'm below deck, in the middle passage, just a passenger. Revolutionary hardcore, liberation, that's a hard job. You ain't ready, you a oddball, keep your mouth closed like lockjaw. I learned trying to bring people together on the same page, make them separate. All the talk about reconciliation, when the time come, you hesitate. If Jesus was able to sit at the table with a bunch of sinners, you very fake. Your steps ordered by the Lord, and how it was yesterday, a big mistake. We the city sitting on the hill. Guess it all depends on how you live. Guess it all depends on how you feel, and we both know that ain't God's will. I stood on what I felt was right. I don't never question if God's real. Trapped inside this matrix, I'm about to pop the red and the blue pill.
Bless them which persecute you. Bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, said the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:14-21.
You're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not Manny. I am Peyton Manning level, I'm on GOAT status. I think I'm the baddest mother lover ever walk on this planet. Damn it, you could never see me, you could never beat me, you could never be me, disrespect me, and I'm eating all of your pizza. I know I'm not right, I know I'm not white, I know I'm gon' call the popo on you if you hit me. I don't fight, I'm a rapper, I don't write. Rio, you got all that hype, that's the stuff that I don't like. Why you laughing at my height? I wish I could slap your face. You just think you're so amazing, you just think that you're the greatest. Why you fucking Tom Brady? I am Peyton Manning, end of conversation. You just hating, I am Peyton Manning, say it. I am Peyton Manning, say it. No, did what God planned, that's a Drake line. Beat a midget up, that's a hate crime. 8 towns on 3 game time. Got the trunk knocking from the baseline. I'm all about the money, baby, crocker cake time. Chopsticks on deck, no Shanghai. 4-5, you come to my waistline. Keep the 4-5 tip by my waistline. You soft in the middle like fruit pie. I know it hard for you to walk a straight line. You wouldn't throw trays in the food fight. That's what I heard through the grapevine. I know you don't mind wasting your time. I would just prefer you didn't waste mine. You gon' get what coming to you in due time. Little pussycat running from the K9. You're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny. You ain't know category mandatory for me to tell you that you were very boring. And the moral of the story, I wish I could just ignore you, but I gotta burn your body, put you in the crematorium. And I'm the only audio inside the auditorium. And when I'm finished with you, you will not have no memorial. You wanna be Luigi, but you're not ready for Mario. And no scenario, running circles around your cardio. And that's a body blow, it's not a secret. Everybody know that you ain't coming close. I leave you comatose, and you become a ghost. I overdose, I gotta overload. That's when the windows of heaven open up for me with the overflow. And I can feel the power moving within every last chromosome. Battle right around the corner, you already know it's on. Understand me, you're not Peyton Manning, you're not Peyton Manning. Woo!
Peace. What it is? It's your brother Tyvon Sueno, aka the Orthodox Moor, aka the Seven Pillar Service, and aka Brother Moore. Wishing you all peace and blessings. A lot of you know that I'm going to be sitting down with Garfield having a conversation about were there people that came off the slave ships, either saying they were Israelites or practicing Israelite practices, etc. And he's particularly even in like a messianic format, right? But before I get into that conversation with him, I want to kind of walk the family back on a couple of things time-wise, and get people to understand certain things. So a lot of people have this conversation about Israelites in America, and they want to pigeonhole it to a certain time period that has to do with the One West conversation. Not everybody goes back to a One West concept, and I want people to understand that. And so I want to point towards some cultural things that people can start looking to understand how far this thing goes back in time, where it comes from in a sense of culture, and places in cultures that came from in Africa, etc. But first and foremost, I want to get into one particular practice that I want to point towards that's particular to low country Christianity. When I say low country Christianity, I'm talking about, this is a coin that I've termed, or a term that I coined for the Christianity of the Gullah Geechee culture and whatnot, from the Gullah Coast, from, you know what I'm saying, from Florida. You could even get into Jamaica with this a little bit, right? Because we were seeing that in the previous video where I was talking about like the Ethiopian Baptist churches that were floating around and whatnot, right? And those concepts. You've seen me talk about the East African side of the slave trade. We've covered people like Dr. Ephraim Isaac talking about potential Ge'ez on the pews in Savannah, Georgia. Ethiopic connections with the window panes and the Ethiopic crosses there. Even the way the church was structured, right? But beyond that, we can examine a bunch of different practices that were going on in the Low Country in terms of how they practice Christianity. Because a lot of people understand that the Gullah Geechee culture is a mixture of African tribal traditions and religions, Islam, West African Islam, and Christianity. But the question is, what kind of Christianity and from where? What kind of Christianity from where? And did they make their own? Did they make their own? I submit, family, that the Low Country Christianity is a uniquely American form of Christianity that has an influence from a Hebrew culture, Islamic and Israelite. And I'll be able to point towards these practices and cultures happening here in the Americas and also in West Africa. So before they get on the slave ship and after they get on the slave ship, this being one of them. So peep the title. I'm talking about the concept of first fruits. The concept of first fruits. So not many churches in America, and particularly at the time, were practicing stuff like this. And I'm going to get into a lot of specific practices that happen that are Israelite practice in particular. I'll be able to get into stuff that's Islamic in a few other videos, but on this one, I'm going to focus on at least one Israelite practice. There's a few I'm going to be touching on. And if I get the bug on it now, I might do it all right now, but we'll see what it is. I kind of want to take this one topic at a time to let people digest it. But yeah, this right here, I want to start with the concept of first fruits. This is something that comes from the Bible. And like I said, family, like going forward and in my conversation with Garfield, I'll touch on how people were doing this here, but also doing it back in this concept, at least back in West Africa. So without further ado, let me get into this presentation, family. You know what? Let me go ahead and put some transitions on this joint. I forgot to do that. My fault. Wait, here we go. Flip. Bada bing, bada bang, bada boom. Apply to all slides. Let's go. We flipping? Yeah, we flipping. So low country Christianity, family, Israelite traditions among the Geechee, the Gullah Geechee culture. This particular episode, I'll be focusing on first fruits. So if you do not have this book, Drums and Shadows, family, I suggest you go pick it up if you're interested in Gullah Geechee culture. I just recently purchased this book, and it's fantastic, family. It's like listening to your great grandparents tell you stories that you wish you could go back and have them tell you. But Drums and Shadows was a project of a bunch of Georgia writers going down and cataloging what people had to say amongst the Gullah Geechee people in multiple different states and multiple different places. It's specifically in Georgia, but like they're like the islands kind of cross borders a little bit, but like you'll see what it is if you get the book. There's a bunch of places. They talk about a bunch of different traditions, so you'll see they go in asking questions about like conjuring, like magical concepts and whatnot. They want to know about what people remember about Africa, African culture, words, huts, housing, all them kind of things. It's very, very, very interesting and whatnot. And they would talk about festivals and cultural practices and dances and all kinds of stuff. It's a fantastic book, fam. Fantastic. I highly suggest you pick it up. And there's a couple of things from this book that I'll be gleaning specifically for this series here. But in particular, I'm going to point towards one interview that happens on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Where a woman recants something about a harvest that they have. And one of the things I love about the book is that the people are speaking Gullah. They are speaking their Gullah Creole and whatnot. So it's like a trip back in time and whatnot. So it's really like getting to talk to like some great grandparents and whatnot. It's a real beautiful book in that way. But there's a woman who recants this one, asked about harvest and whatnot, and festivals and whatnot. She says, we used to have big times the first harvest, and the first thing what growed we take to the church, so everybody could have a piece of it. We pray over it and shout. When we have a dance, we used to shout it in a ring. We didn't have what you call a proper dance today. So during their first harvest, they would take the first of what grew down to the church so that everybody could have a piece of it. They would pray over it and they would shout. If you've heard me go over Lorenzo Dow Turner's work, that word for shout goes back to an Arabic word zout, which has to do with a practice that was done during Hajj, which is basically like dancing oneself into a weary state in a sense, right? But I'm going to show, like, so again, you hear me and people like Anonymous talk about things like a trade language and things like that amongst and a blend of Hebrew and Arabic, whatnot, right? So we're going to see Hebrew culture here that goes two different directions, right? Like, so universal aspects of Hebrew culture that you can find in Islam and in Israelite culture, right? One of which is this concept of Hajj. A lot of people know that word Hajj in Arabic, They don't know it in Hebrew. And so I want to break something down about how the ring shout and the shout and this dancing in a circle and shouting in the ring, how this has to do with an Israelite tradition, particularly having to do with the first harvest and bringing things in for the first fruits and down to the church, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's multiple places I could talk about this, but I'm going to talk about this just specifically in Exodus chapter 23 in 3 different verses, right? So we got the harvest, first fruits, and dancing in a circle. Exodus 23:14 says this: 3 times thou shalt keep a feast. And that word for feast is Hagag, right? This is the Hebrew equivalent to the word Hajj. And there's 2 different ways of saying Hajj with in Arabic. One with 2 gems and one with a singular gem. This would be the same concept with the double, right? So 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Verse 15, thou shalt keep the feast, Hajj, again, Hag with one G or 1 gem, right, in Arabic, right? Which you find both. The feast of unleavened bread, thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days as I commanded thee in the time appointed of the month of Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. Verse 16, and the feast of harvest, again, Chag, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, Chag, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. So we have 3 times a year where there's feast and whatnot. To where there's a feast where we're supposed to keep a feast of a Hagag and a Hajj or Hag, right? So this is an Israelite concept of Hajj that predates the Quranic concept, right? But this is nonetheless Hebrew culture, right? So I want to get into these words and what they mean. So that first one that came up, that 3 times a year you're supposed to keep the Chagag, right? This is H2287, and it means properly to move in a circle. Move in a circle, i.e. specifically to march in a sacred procession, to observe a festival, by implication to be giddy, celebrate, dance, keep hold, a solemn feast, holiday, or holy day, and to reel to and fro. Right? To reel to and fro. So right there, we're seeing the concept of moving in a circle, dancing and reeling to and fro in celebration and observance of a festival. If that's not the ring shout, I don't know what is. If that's not the ring shout, I don't know what is. If that's not the ring shout, I don't know what is. But also they're doing so to commemorate their first harvest and the first of what they grew. Again, as a festival, a Hajj, a solemn feast day. So one more time, let me go back. We used to have big times, the first harvest. And the first thing what growed, we take to the church. When we have a dance, we used to shout in the ring after praying over this whole thing. You pray and shout and dance in the ring. Now, something that's interesting about this is people like Dr. Amir Jamal Torre, who's also a Gullah Geechee activist and whatnot. He speaks about the fact that the ring shout, again, was something that they did because the one thing that they couldn't do as Muslims was go to Hajj, go to Mecca for Hajj, right? Well, again, for Hebrews and Israelite tradition and whatnot, again, Hebrews that follow an Israelite tradition, they have to make a Hajj or Hagag 3 times a year as well, right? In terms of like they have to make a Hajj to Jerusalem, etc. Right. So if you're an Israelite over here, that's one of the practices you can uphold as well, right? So this ring shout concept would be universal to both traditions. Both traditions. Both traditions. So we got Geechee people taking, Gullah Geechee people taking the harvest to the church, you know what I'm saying? Carrying stuff on their head, you know what I'm saying? West African style. Taking stuff to the church so they could divide everything up amongst everybody so that everybody could have some. That everybody could have some. And then when they were done, they would pray over it. They would shout. And they would dance in the ring. Dance in a circle. They would perform Hagag. And again, this is the same kind of a concept. Like when you see people, when they talk about like when they circumambulated around like Jericho 7 times. That's that same concept. That circumambulation concept. Or like when you see people make Hajj to Mecca, when they circumambulate around the Kaaba, when they move in a circle, that same concept of moving in a circle. So this is an Israelite tradition amongst low country Christianity. That's separate from dancing in a circle, fam. Separate from the other Christianity around them. So this is not something that they're copying from Western Christianity in any way, shape, or form. I have yet to ever go to a Christian church that has a Firstfruits harvest festival to where we dance in a circle and do a ring shout. I have yet to see it. I have yet to see it. And the only other place I see something like this is the Bible. Is the Bible. So I won't make this too long, fam. I hope this was edifying in some way, shape, or form. This is one of a few different things that I'll be bringing out in terms of particular practices that are specific to low country Christianity that you won't find in other forms of Christianity in America, and particularly at that time. Hold on right quick. I got somebody asking a question. He says, what does make you move in a circle? Well, one, the Gullah people themselves, the Geechee people themselves say that they move in a circle. But two, that word there for festival in Hebrew, again, let me go back to it for my brother. Hold on. So in Exodus, the Israelites are commanded to keep a feast 3 times a year. This word for feast, Hagag, again, is the Hebrew equivalent to the Arabic word Hajj. And one of those feasts that they're supposed to keep is the Hajj or Hag of first fruits. When you get into the Hebrew of these words, they mean to move in a circle, specifically to march in a sacred procession, to observe a festival, to dance, etc., to reel to and fro. As a festival at a solemn feast day, etc. So, hope that answers the brother's question. And again, we see where they're bringing the first fruits down. Shout out to the Gullah Geechee ancestors and whatnot, holding the culture down, praying over the thing, and doing a ring shout, dancing in a circle, which is a big part of Gullah Geechee culture. A big part of it. A big part of it. But I hope that answered your question, brother man. But with that, family, I appreciate you for coming through. Like I said, I hope you're edified. And with that, family, I say peace and love.
I like the way this feel, yeah. let my soul cry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Minister, we gonna speak from the heart on this one. I'm performing lyrical funerals, no obituary. I killed your boy and brought him back to life, pet cemetery. My anointing not based on attendance at a seminary. Scarlet witches, they attracted to the visionary. Everywhere I go, I bring the word with me, missionary. Soldier drafted in the war machine, military. Pay attention, what I'm saying to you, legendary. You got the demeanor of a front desk secretary. That mean you take the calls, but you don't make the calls. That's why you hate, cause ain't nothing fake about me at all. Now I dare you try to say that with a straight face. My delivery in tip-top great shape. I'm too advanced for you, light years, space age. No evolution for you cavemen, stone age. I'm a thoroughbred, rock solid. I came from the bottom to the top, rock climbing. I grew up in the hood, pros and cons. That's that full court pressure when the ambulance roll out the stretch. Why can't you see it's not logical? And you live diabolical. Boy, your point of view smaller than hair follicle molecule. This for all of them that follow you, smoking all of them barbecue. When I pull up, your voice don't correct itself with no auto-tune. I got a whole nother level that I can enter whenever I gotta deal with the devil. I pick a whole nother method. I hear a whole lot of yapping. They wanna see my reaction. I'm really out here in the community making it happen. I don't really think they understand the dilemma. They ain't looking at the man in the mirror. Can't say it in the clearer. The plan is very simple. It's time to start playing in the temple. Before somebody come and put the can on your temple. Reaching like a baby with his hand for the nipple. The Grand Reaper coming with his hand on the circle. Hit the van coming with a ram with it. With the van coming get him. I am so glad that I changed up. Made it out of where I came from. Watch for the sliding hook of the slow ball, fastball, and that change up. That ghetto lifestyle, it changed us. Go back to visit, it ain't changed much. Only difference is now the way that my brain process information. And Satan, been after my license day one. Let me say something. Only reason that I'm still alive today because God's grace is amazing. Just another raisin in the sun. Dream deferred when things occurred. Now you getting served right on the curb like a lemonade stand. I just gave you the benediction, let the whole church say amen.